Morning, everyone.
Hello, Bill.
Again, we're just going to give it a minute to let everybody join. We can talk about our most important thing while that's happening, which is we love questions. So please pop up that that Q&A and share anything you'd like as we go along. It's great to see so many people joining. Excellent. Well, just a quick reminder, if you just joined, love questions, throw them out in the Q&A. I think it's time for us to get going. Welcome. I'm Bill Bison, the CEO at nQzw. With me is Ken.
Hi, yeah, Ken Bass. I'm Chief Revenue Officer of nQzw, and happy to be here today.
Awesome. Let's we've got some fun things to talk about. This is one of the most exciting things that we've introduced in a while. So let's dive in and get after it.
Excellent.
Little company history. You know, next year is going to be our 20-year anniversary. We've been in legal tech for a long time. Ken and I have been in legal tech even longer than that, which is a little bit scary to think about. What we're really well known for now is our digitization workflows. We first launched scanning in 2011, and then updated that with a really significant advance, which is what we call Qs. That's our workflow engine that now drives everything that we do in workflows. And the thing that brought Ken and I to the table was our merger. Just now, next month it'll be a 2-year anniversary of the merger between nQzw that created this company. And year after that, we launched ScanQ, and so we're gonna show you the latest and greatest that we have come out with since then. So this is one of those ideas that was really a better idea all along, which is a digital mailroom. The pandemic has really accelerated the adoption. It has created this whole new set of challenges around hybrid operations. What I really want to start with is asking you how you're doing it today. So we're going to launch a quick poll here about how is it that you are scanning to recipients today? Is it going directly to email? Are you scanning directly to the DMS? Are you sending it to a network folder, some other random place? So either the firm you're working with, or if you're a consultant, work with multiple firms, tell us the norm that you see.
I think we eventually figured out, Bill, that these polls don't show up on the recordings. So thanks for reading that through. If you are watching at a later point, those are the options that we're given, and we'll talk about the results here in just a second.
Still getting a few more answers, and I think we're going to end up with exactly what we expect and what we see over and over again when we're talking to firms, which is that by far the most common route is to scan directly to email. But right now we're running about 2/3 email, 20% DMS, 10% network. Excellent. Thanks for doing that. That's exactly where we ended up. Just a little bit over 2/3 to email, 21% to the DMS, and 11% to a network folder. So Ken, let's talk a little bit about what that means to scan directly to email. So what are the challenges that you see with that?
Yeah, so and we'll talk about it a lot, and I'll try not to repeat too terribly much. But when we talked about, you know, just even digital mail, that was the main thing that came out when you had earlier conversations. That's what people said too, is like, how are you getting your mail to people? And it was almost the answer every single time. We scan it to and send it to their email. And so from that, the longer that people were working remotely, the longer that people were hybrid, questions started arising, like, is that the best way to do it? Is that the safest way to do it? Does it make the most sense? So when we came out with MailQ, and we'll dig into that a little bit deeper, what we wanted to do is make it really simple, right? So you have incoming physical mail, and albeit that has decreased, there's still paper that we're dealing with every day. If you're doing, this is what we see normally, doing it via central scanning, then you just can quickly, you know, scan what you're looking at and get it to the place that you want it to go. I think the most interesting thing that's come about from digital mail so far is when we set out to replicate somebody pushing a cart down the hall and handing pieces of mail to somebody, which is a very simple process. When you digitize it, though, all of a sudden, all of these preferences, some say complexities, but all these preferences and flexibility comes into the process, which is, you know, well, this office, they get tons of mail and they just scan it as quickly as possible. They don't even look at it, or these people scan the envelope, they're not able to open it. These people have loads of time, and so they're able to open up and detect that it's court related, so it has to be over to the docketing group or whichever. So what we've found very quickly is that before, probably every firm did it the same. You push a mail cart down unless you had already digitized. Now, when you go digital, you really have to tailor it for office, for practice area, for firm, everything across the board. So what we decided to do when we introduced queues is giving that option to just quickly scan something, have it go to the recipient, or have it go to a group of recipients, right? And then they get to make the decision of where that should ultimately end up, whether it be the DMS, or maybe it's appropriate to get to email or to the accounting system or whichever. Anything to add to that, Bill?
Well, the advantage of it being digital is suddenly you can build in, and yes, there may be some complexity, but there's a lot of value in being able to build into the workflows what is really the most efficient process for the firm. And the example here, the staff queue is really perfect, because you want recipients to get their scanned mail immediately, but you may have a team or delegates that are evaluating those documents and doing the profiling work on behalf of the recipients. And so that ability to customize the workflow is really powerful. And the core problem we have is that what recipients really want is they just want to get their scanned documents the simplest way possible. They want it to show up in their email. The challenge with that is that if it's just sent via email, it's now very difficult to have the appropriate oversight and security apply to that. So what we've worked on is sort of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so I get my mail. I don't necessarily want to do anything with it, and I certainly don't want to walk it down the hall if it's digital. So how do I notify the people who are going to do something with it at the same time that I get it without delay? And what we've also found is that mail can be from any place as people are working hybrid. You might have something that's in central scanning, or you might have mail that you need to get to somebody. So whether it's a desktop scanner, or if you're using a mobile device, or even the MFD, again, you can still replicate that process. So sometimes mail, albeit traditionally central scanning, can also be other places. And so we've kind of been agnostic as far as that. Capture it, and it will actually route the exact same way. And just to add on to that, we talk about recipients, and we talk about the delegation of that, but the shared queues is really interesting, and it's what allows us to be even more flexible and apply workflows to this, so that when you're scanning, centralized scanning, or however that you're doing it, you can send it over to a shared queue. So beyond, besides delegation, you could have a group of people, like everybody in this accounting group. I mentioned earlier, everybody in the docketing group, whatever that might be. If you do have, or you are familiar with what's being scanned and who it needs to go to, you can assign people to certain groups. They all get a notification as soon as something hits that group, and whoever's most appropriate to action that item, they have the ability to do that. And I know shared queues is big to you, Bill. Anything to add on that?
Well, it's what really gives you this power to customize your workflows. So when you break away from the idea that a scan simply goes to one recipient, and we added, we add depth to that because each recipient can have delegates, but then the power of being able to have shared queues, if you just start to think about that, that's where going digital really empowers the whole process. We did have a question, Ken, that you touched on really briefly, but I just want to make sure. So the question is, can you capture scans from a local USB scanner? And the answer is absolutely yes. So we've really opened up scanning so that the scan can be from any device. It could be your desktop scanner because you've pushed them out at the workgroup level, or because you have one sitting on your desk in your office at home, and as we'll show, it can even be your mobile device now.
Excellent. All right, so we'll get off these diagrams maybe and show some product. So what I thought we would do is just kind of jump in and get straight to the punch, and then we'll add a little more detail to it as we go. But we're just looking at an image of an MFD here. You can basically design what makes the most sense for the person doing the scan. But quickly, we're just going to click scan. Takes me to a preview of that document where I can apply all sorts of other settings and things like this. Again, completely optional. I mean, the thing about what we've been doing is to remain flexible is really the key. So however it fits the workflow of the firm or the office or the individual is what's key. At this point, when I hit finish and log out, what you'll see is that that image immediately appears within Outlook. And so I want to spend just a little bit of time on this because this is cool what this is doing. So the individual either got a desktop notification, but they'll also get an email notification that's just saying, hey, there's a new scan for you, a new email. You can customize what that message is, but it's basically saying you've received a new document in scan queue. Now, what we've talked to IT professionals that like is that you'll see that the documents here, you'll notice that there is no attachment. So versus how we've always done it in the past was you could scan to a queue, but you could also scan directly to email. You get the attachment there. What that shows you, or what that would allow you to do is you could forward that attachment. It could live in multiple places and so on. What we do is just give you a notification that the document's there with no indication of an attachment. From here, you could forward this notification to your delegate. If they have access to this link, they could access the document for you. So maybe it's appropriate to make a note and say, we need to take care of this right away. So you still have all of the flexibility of email, and you receive it directly within your inbox. And this is wherever Outlook is. So if you're running Outlook on a Mac, if you're running the web version, if you're running the desktop version, your mobile version, which we'll look at also, you're automatically going to see or immediately get that. What's interesting about this as well is you get it immediately. So there's all sorts of really neat things that we do to images when they're scanned, such as de-skewing them and cleaning up the image and OCRing them and all of that. What we decided to do, however, is not require that process to finish prior to providing the end user what was just scanned for them. So when you scan it, it immediately shows up here and you have it as quickly as you need. Anything to add to that, Bill?
Well, I just think that speed of delivery is so important because you have the classic use case of attorneys on the way to the client or on the way to the courthouse. You're scanning the document for them. It's going to be delivered the moment it's available, and then we do all that back end work and OCR it, and it all catches up with it. But the key is that your recipient gets it the moment it's available.
Absolutely. So within here, we can see this. This is just showing me everything that's in my scan queue. I can also, there's a toggle that just shows me just the document that's in this email. We found that most users like to be able to see this. You can quickly see everything that's been scanned on your behalf or that you've scanned to your queue. You can see some detail about that. We haven't gotten terribly descriptive. I think we repeated some of those details here, but you can see which queue it belongs into, what kind of document it was, who sent it over. And then if you want, you can pull that, get a deeper preview of that. So I could come through and look at this and again, get the category of the document and the tag that was assigned to it and so on. And then even further, if I want to do this, I can come through and pull open the image to dive in and see exactly what's contained within here and search through the multiple pages and so on.
And you really talked about the benefit of it not being an attachment. So not only are we not clogging up the mailboxes with these huge attachments, but it also means that the security is still applying. So your examples of how you can forward the document, you can't accidentally forward it to somebody who shouldn't have access to the document. The firm's security infrastructure still applies to these documents, even though we're reviewing it in Outlook.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, exactly. So it comes over in a way I say that we're mimicking the sending to email. So you have it in the exact place that you're used to working. You can see all of that information. And I don't know if we have it within here, but one unique thing too is even if somebody like one of your delegates or somebody, they also receive the same notification that you get, and they decide, hey, I know exactly what to do with this document. I'm going to route it over to our DMS. It will still appear here in this view and just simply have a check mark that says somebody's already routed that to the DMS. You can still access the document. You can pull open the document, anything like that. But instead of having to worry about that, because the use case was we had firms say, I just want to see what's being sent to me. I don't really want to do anything with it. But if somebody's done something with it, I don't want to miss out on that either. So you kind of had to deliver both, give everybody who should receive the attachment, well, not attachment, but the image. And then from that, they can choose if they want to do something with it, you still have the ability to go out and see it.
And you also avoid the problem of the same document getting profiled multiple times because multiple people received it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this, make sure I don't forget, Bill, too, about the activity stream. When you're talking about Outlook, you're looking at Outlook, things like this, it's a very individualized process. Most of the people that we work with don't open up their entire inbox to other people that they work with. And so what this allows you to do is to do that for select images based on certain categories, based on how you've set up that workflow. So in a way, I get a visual into your inbox of only the things I should see, which just isn't really possible otherwise. Now, what makes all of this possible is what we talked about at the very beginning, which is queues. And in fact, in this version that we're looking at here, it's pretty much a read-only version, right? I can forward the attachment with note or the email with notes and things like that. But if I want to do anything with it, I actually click on the link of the document and can launch over to that, which we'll look at in just a second. But as we were talking about on the Outlook piece, immediately when I received it, obviously on my desktop, I can receive it from the phone as well. This really came through nice. I was concerned about how it might look on that, but I'll immediately get that I had received the scan. I can launch, right, to go out and look at that, which would pull open queues for me so that I could see it. What I prefer to do is I can just click, well, either one, this ellipses here, and then you have an option to just open scan queue directly from your mobile device. So when I select that, just what we spent time looking at, you have both toggle options for in this email or my scan queue. Again, can see some basic information. And then if you want to take a look at it in more detail, you have the ability to do that and see the attachment that's there. Of course, you can also forward this email and so on with any instruction, and the same security applies as it of course would in your inbox. So what makes all of this possible is queues. So as we're looking at this within here, if you haven't seen it before, this is actually where the documents are being stored temporarily. So somebody scanned them to either their queue or to a mail queue or to whatever that you might define or whatever that might be. So it shows you a little bit more information than you're looking at in Outlook. You have all the same kind of basic info, but if I wanted to drill down and pick a particular category, so hey, let's just look at mail, then I can come through and see that. If mail 001 isn't descriptive enough for me, so I want to take a closer look at the document, I can pull that open and it gives me the full attachment. And this is where there's a little separation between what we're doing in Outlook and what we do in queues. If you actually click that link, which again is not the attachment, but it takes you here, then you have the full capabilities of all the workflows within queues, again, completely definable by the firm. So I could come through, and if I'm allowed to edit this document, then I could come through and put on a note, right? So we have all the Adobe style like PDF editing directly built within here, just as so it can be a part of the workflow. You can apply true redaction to the document. If we decide to send this outside of the firm, you can come through and do that. And then ultimately, once you've either made the changes or maybe sent it to another queue because it was sent to the wrong one, or just simply reassigned it to somebody else, all of these options are available to you. And then directly from within here, you can route it to the places that you've set up to that make the most sense. So I can choose route or route in this instance, and I have the ability to choose as many different destinations as makes sense. I've just left a DMS and quality queues and mail queue up here, or email, however you want to look at that. We'll just take the example of DMS. I can log in whether I'm using iManage or NetDocs or Worldox or ProLaw or whatever your flavor is. We know who you are because of how you're accessing this via queues. So we'll pull in those preferences, and each DMS system refers to them a little bit differently. But here we're just looking and showing, favorites and the work list and different workspaces and so on. When I'm looking at my work list and I just choose the folder I want, I can put in a couple of just very simple preferences. We tell you what to do over here to the left and kind of walk you through step by step. And then upon clicking route, then it now lives over in the DMS. However, it still lives in Outlook where that person viewed it. It'll just have a check mark because it's been routed at this point, but it doesn't disappear from there. So you don't have to worry about somebody being able to have missed something that was scanned to them or on their behalf. Now, what we're looking at
where we actually retrieve it from is from the DMS. So we're not keeping a second copy. It's been moved from queues, which is designed as a temporary holding space, and it's now in the DMS. And if the recipient chooses to view it in Outlook, we're actually pulling it from the DMS.
Right, and I think each DMS is a little differently how we pull that, but no, great point. There's a few different, and Bill had mentioned it earlier, of kind of oversight and governance of the process. There's a couple of different ways we accomplish it. One of the most simple and straightforward ways is via what we're looking at right here, just called an activity stream. And I've limited the detail that we're looking at, but you can pull in and come through and look at an activity stream and see everything that's been done for these documents. So again, the traditional way of scanning just to email, you know that you scanned it, and there's probably a super high success rate that it actually got to email. That's not really the issue. but what happened to it after it got to their email, or who did what with it after it went to multiple people's email. And that's really everything that activity stream is meant to do, right? And so within, you can of course come in and search. You can search for a date range. You can say, hey, just show me things that have already been routed, or show me anything that was canceled or that's been received. So lots of different options for being able to filter. In this instance, I probably wouldn't use any of those because I'm only looking at 2 items, but this will tell me when it was scanned, who scanned it. If I've routed it to the DMS, it's going to show that directly here. I can drop down on the details to see if people have edited it, reassigned it, sent it somewhere else. So this is really the audit capability of the process as a whole.
So we've got a couple of questions, Ken. So the Outlook add-on for mobile, is that available for Android?
Great question. If you're running Outlook
it's not a trick question. Yeah, I actually know the answer to that one.
Yeah, fire away.
So the Outlook integration is done as a universal add-in, which means that it runs anywhere that the Outlook app runs. So the answer is yes. It's a very lightweight add-in. So it's the newer HTML5 based add-in. So it does not slow down or weigh down Outlook. And the great thing about it being a universal add-in is it just runs everywhere that Outlook runs. Next question is when will this be 100% cloud with no dependency that's on-premise servers? Which is a great question. And so for supporting MFDs running inside the firm, there's always going to be a component that manages that communication with MFDs. We have a number of firms that run ScanQ 100% in the cloud, typically in Azure today. I think this question is really, when is it going to be a SaaS application? So you can run it in the cloud right now. As a SaaS application, it'll still require having that component that manages the communication with the MFDs running inside the firm. And what you're seeing here is actually the first significant step in moving in that direction. So in order to support the Outlook integration, and I'm pretty sure Ken's going to show our iOS app, both of those require a bridge to the cloud. And so we're already deep into that process. And so that's exactly what we're working on right now. We don't have any sort of announcement for when, but that is exactly where we're going.
Years, not decades. Let's go with that. How about that? Maybe not months, but not decades either. So that would be the answer. Yeah, great segue too, Bill. And we'll walk right into this. So we talked at the very beginning, so I wanted to walk through a couple of ideas on other ways to capture. So we looked at the MFD way. I think we had an earlier question about capturing via mobile. I can either wait for the question to come in, or I can just answer it right now. The very first release is iOS. We're working on Android, and so that's the answer to that question that was getting ready to be submitted. So directly on my mobile device here, I've got the nQzw or ZebraWorks app. I can come through here and drill in. Whatever access control system the firm's using, we can support. So however that's working today, I'm simply just gonna click through, and this is interesting what we've done here. When we talk about security and things like this, where that's really important is on mobile devices or on at-home scanners and things like that. So I can just use the native camera of the device to capture this document. So I just line it up and can capture the document. What's interesting though is once I take that picture, we have it in our app. It's encrypted in transit and never stored, right? But it's not on the device. So if I take this picture and I go over to photos, it's not going to be in my photos, right? It's just in the app itself. So we come through, say complaint for damages, you can add a tag or a category. We didn't spend a lot of time on that. There is some interesting things around this. You can choose however many tags are available, obviously, and select that. It's not mandatory, but you have it as an option. You can use category, and category is unique because it has a whole level of granular security assigned to it. So if you are capturing something that happens to be private, and you can do this at the MFD as well, I just didn't go into a deep explanation, you can mark it private, and then your delegates can't see it. In fact, it would only be a private document to you. So whether they usually see it within the Outlook add-in, or they usually see it within queues or a desktop notification, it completely blocks that. And you don't have to call it private, you can call it whatever you want, but there's levels of security that are around that. And that's really where categories come into play. But from here, I just click send. At that point, it's uploading to ScanQ. It's cleaned up off of the device as soon as that's completed. And I'm sure there's more a more technical way to say that, but that's how I say it. Anything to add on that one, Bill?
Yeah, the important thing, and you're undoubtedly going to show desktop scanning also, and the key for both of those is we're cleaning up after the scanning, so you don't end up with these documents just left all over the place on local hard drives or mobile devices.
Absolutely. So you will have the history of the things that you've scanned, so you can show those here and see that you got the check mark for those that want that that confirmation that's come through. But then ultimately that document that we captured on the phone will get cleaned up and all of those things and get thrown back into queues, or ScanQ rather, depending on where that you've sent that. And then of course you have all the editing and routing and reassigning capabilities as we looked at earlier. The same thing's true.
One of the questions that often comes up, Ken, is do you really get good images doing that with a phone? And it's surprising how good the images are, the combination of the quality of the cameras on mobile devices now and the image processing that we put the end result through. You actually get really good scans from doing this.
Awesome. So we did have the request as well. As great, I've captured a document, but I want to use queues, but I don't have anything to scan. Because it's either already electronic or somebody emailed it to me or something like that. So directly as well, you can choose any document that's digital, right? And just come through directly. You have that same option that we looked at earlier when we were opening up the add-in. You can just say, hey, let's send this to queues. So you choose that. Again, we won't go into tags and categories, but you put all those preferences on and hit scan. And then that ends back up in queues as well. Now we did have, I think, an earlier question on this as well, which was the desktop scanner that you can come through and select. So we basically set those up to have an output, and Bill, you can add to this, but describe it however you'd like, but upload to ScanQ. Upon scanning, it's going to put this in this network folder. We'll monitor that folder and grab it and then go throw it into ScanQ. And at the same time, remove that attachment or scan from the folder itself.
Yeah, what we're doing is leveraging the little tray icon app that we have running. And so we can do this with really any scanner, because we just set it up to scan to a folder. We monitor that folder, grab the document, delete it after we move it up to ScanQ.
Excellent. I don't think that we looked at that piece, the desktop notification, but that's just if you're not only doing Outlook, we want to receive it that way because we get a lot of emails. You certainly have that ability as well. And then anything that we've captured and sent over just immediately appears back in Command Center or ScanQ as we've been looking at.
One thing I want to talk about for just a second, Ken, is we've had a number of firms that responded that they're scanning directly to their DMS. And so I want to just talk for a moment about reasons why you might consider changing that approach. So what most firms do when they're scanning to DMS is they'll scan to the recipient's personal workspace. And so there's a handful of challenges with doing that. I mean, you've already seen what we're doing in Qs with how easy we make it to profile documents in the DMS. If you're just going directly to the DMS, you have sort of a different set of problems. So if the document gets sent to the wrong recipient, it can be pretty challenging getting to the right one, because usually security makes it difficult to make those changes. How you do notifications is is kind of a challenge. I think one of the biggest ones is you end up with things in long-term storage in the DMS that really don't belong there, and you lose that speed benefit that we've been talking about, because it goes through the entire process before it ends up in the DMS, and the recipient has the ability to get to it. So it absolutely works. It's it's very similar to scanning directly to email, which is it's a solution with that gets you there with tools already available. But there's some significant advantages to adding the Q's workflow component on the front of that. You get the end result you're looking for, which is the right documents profile in the DMS, and we make it really efficient to do that. And you avoid some of the other challenges that come with that direct to the DMS route.
What I think you hear that a lot too is the reason I scanned email from an MFD is because I don't want to find and filter all the information that I have to for a DMS. So being able to just scan it to your Q, and then taking the time and the decision to whether or not to route that, and having it at your desktop and your just full keyboard and everything that you have in order to put in those decisions at your leisure whenever you want to do it, or somebody else on your behalf, kind of adds and helps adoption all over. So I talked about activity stream. I just want to spend just a second on the integrated dashboards as well. This is obviously just one example, but there's actually dashboards and reporting tool that are built within that can be individualized. So if people just want to see what they've been doing, departmentalized, if that's important, if that's an important metric for how you report back, or just firm as a whole, whichever. And so you can see things that have been scanned, where they ultimately end up. You can see, where the scanning levels are, volumes to date, things that everything across the board, and build these interactive dashboards out. So again, it just gives you that oversight of the entire process. So not only what people are doing within the system, but being able to report on it as well.
Yeah, I'm really just getting at one of the core problems with scanning directly to email, which is you don't really know what happens.
Absolutely. So I think that takes us to the end. If we don't, or unless we have any other questions, Bill, or anything else that you would care to add, clean me up if I missed something.
You've done a great job showing everything off. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So that's how you can reach us. Might be better to go to info@nqzw.com if you want a quicker answer, but these will both work as well. We've appreciate everybody's time and questions and everything that's come across. If you'd like to take a deeper look at this, we can of course personalize that and show you the actual software as well. So feel free to reach out to us and be happy to do that at your leisure.
Thanks, everyone.